Hey there, this is James on the Crypto Swiss channel, and I hate that I even have to say this, but here we are. It's become painfully necessary to address something in today's Crypto Swiss hot jam. Grifters in the XRP community. Yeah, they're out there. People who will blatantly mislead you, lie to your face, and spout nonsense with absolute confidence. And if you know even an ounce about crypto, you'll quickly realize many of them have absolutely no clue what they're talking about. It's wild. Tired of fake gurus who claim to be expert traders but never trade live? I trade live on the second largest crypto exchange, where everything is transparent and results can't be faked. For over 440 days, I've consistently closed every month in profit. In the last 90 days alone, my followers have earned over $34,000 in profits with only 4% drawdown. Verified results, not empty claims. Want to see my verified stats? Click the first link in my profile and start copying my trades for free today. Listen, I'm not pretending to be some all-knowing crypto guru here. Far from it. But wow, some of the claims these people make are next-level absurd. And when you call them out, zero accountability. It's like a circus. Take this headline, for example. Expert says only 1% will be able to afford XRP soon. Here's why. Seriously? Even at first glance, you can tell it's nonsense. Let's break it down. Imagine you've got $100. Doesn't matter if you're rich or broke, just $100. Now back in the day, like 2013 or 2014, XRP was half a penny. You could take that $100 and buy a ton of XRP. Fast forward to 2025, you've still got the same $100. But yeah, maybe XRP is worth a lot more now. Does that mean only 1% of people can afford it? No, it just means you're buying less XRP for the same amount of cash. See how easy it is to debunk that nonsense? It's basic math. Yet somehow these grifters spin it into a doomsday prophecy. Ridiculous. Sure, you can still buy it. XRP is over $2 now, but the same dollars can still get you some. It just costs more. That means fewer XRP in your pocket. Simple, right? Even if XRP hit $50, with the same $100, you just get less XRP. You're not locked out. The math just changes. See how that works? Honestly, this isn't rocket science. The price goes up, you get less for the same dollars. That's the whole idea. The goal is for the crypto we buy today to be worth way more relative to the dollar tomorrow. That's the point. And no, this doesn't mean only 1% of people will afford it. Anyone can still buy in. It's just about how much you're willing to invest. Before I go on, let me be clear. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't have a background in finance, and nothing I say should influence your decisions. So, don't buy or sell based on me, alright? Cool. As you'll notice, there are claims floating around suggesting that soon only the elusive 1% will be able to afford XRP. And trust me, the logic behind these claims is even more absurd than what I'm about to break down. So, who's at the center of this? Enter Edo Farina, or Eduardo Farina as he's sometimes known. With a whopping 155,000 followers on X, he recently shared a video clip that's been stirring up chatter. In the clip, Edo boldly states, "Only 1% will be able to afford XRP soon. The cost of living is skyrocketing, investors are drowning in debt, and many are being pushed out of the crypto markets. Chodiel strong, XRP community. Our time is coming." The video itself emphasizes his point with on-screen text reading, "Bull run is over." Not for the reasons you think. XRP holders, listen to this. So, here's the claim. The bull run is over. But then, in the same breath, he throws out one of the most ridiculous statements in his video, that you're going to make it with XRP. Wait, didn't he just say the XRP bull run is done? The contradictions are unreal. Let me give you some context. Some of you might already know this guy, some might not. Either way, his takes are just unbearable. I'll share two examples, but honestly, I could create an entire video series debunking the nonsense he spews daily on X. A little over a year ago, I'd had enough of him flooding my feed on X. I muted him. Done. Out of sight, out of mind, or so I thought. But now there are articles popping up everywhere about him, and like a bad penny, he's back on my radar. Guess I can't escape this saga after all. I've spent time breaking down his nonsense before, and here I am doing it again because honestly, it's ridiculous. This is classic grifter behavior. Look, I don't blame anyone for making money on YouTube, in crypto, or any other space. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. If you're misleading a massive audience, you're doing it wrong. If you're operating in good faith, you're doing it right. Everybody gets things wrong sometimes. I've been there. We all have. But if you're spreading misinformation and knowingly doubling down just to chase flashy headlines and clicks, even when you know it's false, that's where you've crossed the line. Let me give you an example. Actually, I've got two. Here's the first one. This is a post from Edo Farino, dated May 31st, 2023. He writes, HSBC, the largest Europe-based bank by total assets, mentions the XRP ledger for cross-border payments. The financial institution alone handles nearly $250 billion per year in foreign exchange. It also referred to DLT as a game changer. Now here's the thing. HSBC stirred up some controversy with their recent statement. And yes, they specifically mentioned XRP. You can see it on the screen. I'll dive into it in just a moment. But here's the thing. One of the trusted influencers decided to share it. And honestly, he should have known better. He's one of the few who's actually well-informed, right? So, seeing him spread this misinformation was pretty disappointing. Now, if he truly didn't know it was inaccurate, fine. We all make mistakes. A simple, wow. Looking back, I feel silly. Thanks for pointing that out would have worked. Maybe even adding a note or taking the post down altogether. That's what acting in good faith looks like. Instead, he doubled down, as I'll show you shortly. So, what did HSBC say? Here's the quote. Payments DLT can streamline end-to-end value transfers, reducing costs, operational risks, and settlement periods. For example, Ripple's XRP ledger provides real-time cross-border settlements using tokens that represent central bank currencies. Now, that statement is wrong on so many levels, it's almost impressive. I had to respond to this, as you'll see shortly. I reached out to him and said, HSBC clearly has no idea what they're talking about. First off, the XRP ledger isn't Ripple's personal playground. It's a decentralized ledger. Second, there are 0 central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, on the XRP ledger. CBDCs operate exclusively on the private, centralized version of the XRP ledger, which, just to clarify, is an entirely separate blockchain, not the XRP ledger. Third, XRP is the only token Ripple uses for its on-demand liquidity ODL solution. Now let me pause here. Following some legal developments in the SEC versus Ripple case, Ripple did start using stablecoins like Tether for transactions touching US borders, but that wasn't public knowledge at the time. And honestly, I don't think they were even doing it back then, since no ruling had been made yet. Still, even if they were, no one outside Ripple knew about it. So when HSBC starts spreading nonsense about CBDCs running on the XRP ledger, it's just that, complete nonsense. And frankly, it's obvious to anyone paying attention. If you've been part of the XRP community for any length of time, this is stuff you already know, basic entry-level knowledge. Can we all agree? Now, if you're brand new, no judgment here. Everyone has to start somewhere. But for someone who's been around for years, wouldn't you just assume they'd know this by now? Honestly, wouldn't you expect it? We're talking XRP 101 here, not advanced blockchain rocket science. And yet, here we are, watching someone push this like it's groundbreaking. Why? Because it sounds flashy. HSBC XRP. It's the kind of thing that catches the attention of those who don't really understand XRP. It sounds exciting, it sounds legit, and it makes people click. Clicks lead to views, views lead to payouts on X. See the game being played here? And sure enough, he responded to me. But his reply? It's a mess. He claims XRPL is also known as RPCA, therefore Ripple's protocol consensus algorithm, so it's very outrageous to refer as Ripple Ledger. Private ledgers run parallel to XRPL. Therefore, XRP will be the bridge for interoperability with other countries. What? That's not even a coherent sentence, let alone a valid explanation. It's word salad dressed up to sound technical, but it's clear as mud. Let me break this down. He's essentially saying, other blockchains exist, so XRP is the bridge for interoperability with other currencies. Wait, what? You're telling me that just because other blockchains exist alongside the XRP blockchain, XRP somehow wins by default? That logic is completely bonkers. It makes zero sense. It's just word salad dressed up to sound smart. Here's the thing. If you're new to crypto or XRP, you might read that and think, wow, this guy must really know his stuff. But nope, that's classic grifter talk. So I called him out. I replied, HSBC referred to Ripple's XRP ledger like it's some centralized entity, which, by the way, is not a thing. Referring to XRPL that way implies centralization, and no, they don't get a free pass on that. Also, let's get this straight. A consensus algorithm isn't the whole XRP ledger. Private ledgers operate entirely separate from XRPL, but HSBC claimed central bank digital currencies CBDCs are used by Ripple on XRPL for settlement. That's pure nonsense. The truth? Only XRP is used by Ripple for settlement. There are no CBDCs on the XRP ledger. If you've been in the crypto space for years and are operating in good faith, this isn't even controversial. It's just fact. Nothing I said was even close to controversial. So why wouldn't he just think, oh, maybe I should take that down? Well, here's the thing. It's the grift, folks. And this time, it's even worse. Check this out. On December 1st, 2023, he wrote, according to Google, the Federal Reserve plans to take ownership of XRP as a global payment solution. It also reports Ripple is buying back XRP as part of their buyback program to remove it from retail hands and hand it over to institutions. Yes, you read that right. He's diving headfirst into conspiracy theory land. This is the level he's reached now, peddling wild claims with zero basis in reality. And even now, with his latest bit about the 1%, he's recycling the same tired narrative about XRP. Retail investors are supposedly being pushed out, and it's all being handed over to the big institutions, as if that's even a good thing. He's been on this train for years and it's never made any sense. But seriously, claiming the Federal Reserve is running an XRP buyback program? Wow, that's a claim so out there, it demands some serious evidence to back it up, right? I mean, wouldn't that be the reasonable thing to expect? Of course, the answer is yes. I know we're all collectively nodding here, yet here we are. Honestly, this one floored me. I couldn't help myself. I had to reach out. And yes, I did some digging on my end too. The result? Exactly what you'd expect. I was like, where did this even come from? Then I dug into it and figured it out. So I wrote this on December 3rd, 2023. Holy shit, Edo, have you no shame? This is a fake news article centered around a 5-month-old YouTube video from CryptoGeek. In the video, which I know you didn't even bother to watch, CryptoGeek clearly says the Fed isn't buying back XRP. The article linked to his video slapped on some fabricated nonsense and twisted the topic into a clickbait headline loosely tied to the video's actual content. They used CryptoGeek's video as a credibility prop, then lied about the substance. Let's be real, you're clearly engagement farming, and honestly, I wouldn't care if this was about something trivial, like pop culture drama, but misleading the XRP community again and again, that's a whole different ballgame. You're one of the worst offenders in the space, consistently pushing this garbage for attention. I don't care how much X pays you for the views. It's reckless and manipulative. Of course, after I called him out, he limited replies on the thread so only accounts he follows could respond. Classic move. He couldn't handle the blowback and shut down the conversation. But here's the thing. When someone's grifting in our community, we have to call it out. This isn't just about him. It's about protecting us all. I hate being tricked like this. It's offensive. We live in this community too, and we deserve better. And then I see stuff like this and think, well, no wonder we can't have nice things. Some people just ruin it. It's frustrating. We've got the best community in all of crypto, at least in my opinion. I truly believe that. But then, of course, there's always a few bad apples. You know the type. And honestly, it drives me crazy. Burns my biscuits, if you will. So after seeing that nonsense, I was done. Hit the mute button. I don't need that kind of negativity. But now, this guy is everywhere, popping up in articles because his ridiculous post is getting traction. It's been viewed 326,000 times. Yep, 326,000 people saw him spewing fake news about the Federal Reserve buying XRP through some imaginary buyback program. It's absurd, just the dumbest kind of nonsense. And here we go again, more ridiculous predictions making waves. The latest headline? Expert claims only 1% will soon be able to afford XRP. Sounds dramatic, right? Eduardo Farina, the founder of Alpha Lions Academy, is back with bold claims, warning that XRP will soon be out of reach for most investors. Let's unpack this. As a result, many unwillingly sell their crypto assets, including XRP, to cover daily expenses. Farina has a knack for making grandiose predictions, and this one is no exception. He's even throwing around the idea of XRP hitting $1,000. But let's be real, these claims don't hold up against reality. His arguments often rely on shaky logic and wild speculation, with a generous dose of misinformation sprinkled in for good measure. It's all part of his formula. Big, flashy claims, mixed with shaky facts, designed to get clicks. And, well, it works for him. But wait, there's more. Farina's so-called analysis, let's use that term loosely, is based on current economic trends, financial institutions gaining power, and future tech developments. He paints a grim picture: inflation spiraling out of control, wages lagging behind the cost of living, and growing economic instability. According to him, things have been unraveling since 2019, thanks to major global upheavals. He even highlights how people are struggling to cover essentials like food and housing. Does any of this justify his XRP price prediction? Doubtful. But hey, it's another spicy headline for Farina's playbook. Let me just say this up front. You can always find stories about people in tough spots selling assets they'd rather keep to cover life's expenses. Sure, those cases exist, but to suggest this is some widespread phenomenon, that's simply not reality. It's cherry-picked, anecdotal at best, and that's exactly the narrative being pushed here, but it just doesn't hold up when you look at the bigger picture. I'll circle back to this, but for now, let's move on. The piece goes on to highlight an argument by Farina, claiming that the average person is struggling more than ever to save money, with credit card debt and delinquency rates soaring. He even suggests that buying cryptocurrencies like XRP has become a luxury for those living paycheck to paycheck. Then comes the kicker. He argues that in the future, only about 1,000 people on the planet will hold XRP because institutions are going to take over. Yes, you heard that right, 1,000 people. I couldn't believe my ears when I heard this. Seriously, go watch the video yourself. It left me absolutely stunned. It's laughable, sure, but also deeply frustrating because some people are actually buying into this nonsense. What? How is this even real life? Only 1,000 people holding XRP in the future? Really? Don't worry. I've got actual data to share, and we're going to dig into this claim a little deeper. Let's dive a bit deeper into the article. The gist? Retail investors are being squeezed out, leaving institutional players to dominate the market. And honestly, this is exactly why I kicked off my video the way I did. Let me say it loud and clear. That idea is ridiculous. The money you have is the money you have. If you want to diversify into a new asset class, be it stocks, crypto, or XRP, you can invest at the price it's at and dollar cost average over time. There's never going to be a point where you're not allowed to buy it or it's off limits. Unless, of course, we're all way off base and it goes to zero. Sure, fair enough in that case. But to suggest otherwise? Pure nonsense. Even if XRP shoots up 10, 20, or 30 times its current value. And yes, that could absolutely happen. There will always be people looking to diversify. They'll work with the money they have and invest if they want to. This isn't rocket science. It's not like prices will climb so high that suddenly no one can participate. That's just not how markets work. What kind of ridiculous idea is that? Seriously, if prices go up, you just buy less. It's basic logic. How does this guy even have followers? Honestly, it wouldn't be as frustrating if I thought he was simply making honest mistakes. Sure, ignorance is bad, but when it's clearly a grift, that's when it's time to push back. You have to call out the grifters. It's just the right thing to do. Anyway, here's the deal. As retail investors pull back, Farina claims big financial institutions are swooping in, investing in XRP to secure their stake in the new financial system. But he's got it all backwards. Crypto started as a grassroots movement. It was retail investors who believed in it first, including XRP. Institutions were late to the party, years behind retail. Retail adoption is the entire reason these institutions even care now. This guy's narrative is upside down, yet he's pitching it like it's gospel, trying to make you feel like you're part of some exclusive club. It's slimy. Farina also claims order books are now 5 times lower than in past bull runs, indicating fewer retail investors in the market. But honestly, this is just more of his spin. Alright, let's break this down, folks. First off, he mentions order books, but never clarifies order books for what exactly. Is this for a single exchange or multiple? He leaves it wide open, just tosses out the claim without digging into specifics. But here's the thing. When you dig into the actual metrics, they tell a different story. Growth is undeniable. Let me show you real quick. Take XRP scan, for example. Let's zoom in on a key stat, the number of payments from one account to another, tracked all the way back to April 2013. This data kicks off shortly after the XRP ledger launched, and while the daily numbers fluctuate, you can clearly see the activity. Like, here's a random day, 5,900 payments between accounts. These metrics don't lie. They paint a picture of consistent growth. Let's take a quick journey through the numbers. Back in the early days, transactions were just trickling in, 2,900 a day. By January 2014, that number had climbed to 14,000. Fast forward to 2018, and the pace was picking up, 12,000, 18,000, even 25,000 transactions per day. Things were heating up. By 2022, it was a whole new ball game. On an average day, you'd see nearly 200,000 transactions, sometimes less, sometimes much more. In fact, I spotted a crazy 330,000 at one point. And even as we slid into the depths of the bear market, activity stayed strong. consistently hitting close to 200,000 daily. But where are we now? It's a whole different league. 1.2 million transactions a day, regularly. Some days even higher. And then there's January 2024, an outlier for sure. Something about tokens set up for trust lines sent numbers soaring to a staggering 5.6 million in a single day. Even if you ignore those anomalies, the trend is clear. We've grown nearly fivefold from the 2022 lows. Incredible, right? Let's talk about transactions. But honestly, you could pick any metric you want. Here's just one. It's skyrocketing. And that's the point. Adoption is surging, and XRP's retail holders are at an all-time high. Yep, more people are holding XRP now than at any point in history. Ever heard of the XRP rich list? Check this out. There are currently 6,337,602 XRP wallets in existence. Compare that to May 17th of last year, when there were 5.19 million. That's a jump from 5.19 million to 6.33 million wallets in under a year. Does that sound like a world where people can't or aren't buying XRP? Seriously, no. That idea is ridiculous. If demand were dropping, we wouldn't have just hit a new all-time high a couple of months ago. The numbers don't lie, and this claim couldn't be more off base. How anyone can take that argument seriously is beyond me. It's completely out of touch with reality. Demand is rising, plain and simple, and retail investors are leading the charge. Yet, here's the wildest claim of all. This guy has the audacity to say, with a straight face, that only 1 or 2,000 people will ultimately hold XRP. 1 or 2,000? Really? That's his prediction? It's absurd. The data clearly tells a different story, and anyone paying attention knows it. Over the past year, XRP wallets have surged by over 1 million, hitting 6.33 million globally. And let's be real, most of these are likely retail users, everyday people like you and me. Why? Because there are way more individuals than institutions. And if you look at the wallet balances, it's clear they're not holding massive amounts of XRP. It's all of us collectively. There's strength in numbers, and the data backs it up. What I'm saying is supported by facts. What he's saying? Absolute nonsense. I can't figure out why some people choose to mislead others like this. Maybe it's just how they're wired, okay with grifting and spreading misinformation. Personally, I find that kind of behavior unethical and frustrating. But hey, you tell me. Why are people like this? It makes no sense. It's not just a harmless difference of opinion, it's a track record of outright lies, and that's what really gets under my skin. Anyway, let's move on. So, he's out here claiming this so-called power shift could drastically alter XRP's supply and demand, catapulting its price to insane levels. But seriously, how does that even make sense? Prices spike because people are buying, not because fewer people are getting in. Make it make sense. Oh, really? Because now institutions are getting involved. But does he even know what institutions actually are? A lot of the time, when people talk about institutions, they're referring to firms with clients, everyday folks like us, who invest in funds backed by XRP. Does he realize this? Or does he not understand that those institutions are just regular people who aren't opting for self-custody? It could also be something like an ETF. Does he grasp that? I doubt it. He's certainly not showing even a basic understanding. And let's be real, this isn't rocket science. I'm no genius here, but still, how does he not get it? Anyway, moving on. Here's the gist. With fewer holders and less retail liquidity, those holding onto XRP might watch their assets skyrocket. That's right, fewer holders, less demand, and less liquidity. Somehow that's supposed to mean prices will soar because institutions will supposedly step in and more than compensate. But let's be clear, this isn't reality. The data speaks for itself. Retail adoption of XRP and the XRP ledger is clearly skyrocketing. Anyone can see that. Speaking of expansion, Farina also pointed out the growing influence of central bank digital currencies in Europe. Specifically, the digital euro, a European CBDC, could make its debut as early as 2025. Farina suggests the XRP ledger could play a key role in the CBDC ecosystem. He points to countries like Montenegro conducting successful tests on the ledger. But let's be real, this is pure fantasy. Ripple themselves, including David Schwartz, have said as much. There's a reason Ripple took the XRP ledger code and created a separate template for central banks to use if they want to launch their own digital currencies. No central bank in their right mind would hand over financial sovereignty to a public blockchain they can't fully control. Think about it. Issues like validator control, rolling back transactions, or managing issuance are non-negotiable. Without total control, it's a hard no. Central banks placing their CBDCs on a public chain? Not happening. Maybe, just maybe, in some sci-fi future 100 years down the road, where everything is 100% secure. But in our world, in 2025, not a chance. It's a ridiculous idea. Ripple knows this isn't grounded in reality. They've built tools for central banks to use privately for a reason. Yet wild claims like these keep popping up because they boost clicks and fuel XRP hype. The idea of a central bank digital currency running on the XRP ledger, it's not happening, but it sure gets people talking and hoping for price surges. No, stablecoins can exist on the XRP ledger, but don't expect a central bank digital currency, CBDC, to pop up there. Why? A CBDC would require a centralized chain, not a decentralized one like the XRP ledger. The XRP ledger is decentralized. Period. Discussion over. Meanwhile, Edo Farina stirs the pot, speculating that if a digital euro launches on the XRP ledger, XRP's price could skyrocket. Bold claim, right? Farina thrives on these dramatic takes, preying on those who might not know better. His predictions are built to grab clicks, not necessarily to offer substance. He even likened this scenario to Stellar's price jump after Ukraine announced plans to develop a CBDC on the Stellar blockchain. But here's the thing. Have you seen Stellar Lumen's price lately? It's far below XRP's. Not exactly the explosive gains one might hope for. As for the Ukraine connection, a quick Google search doesn't back up Farina's claims. There's no hard evidence supporting the narrative he's spinning. But hey, it's Edo Farina. Are we even surprised at this point? Classic case of hype over facts. Farina's main point? The road ahead for retail investors is tough. He paints a picture where only the special ones make it with XRP. And then, at the end of his video, he dramatically proclaims, "If you made it to the end of this video, you'll be one of the few who succeeds." Honestly, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. It was like, oh, you watched my video? Congrats. You're rich now. The cheesiness was off the charts. How can anyone take this guy seriously? It's nearly impossible. But let's not get lost in his theatrics. The core message? Retail holders will soon vanish, leaving institutions to dominate. Somehow that's framed as a win. The price of XRP skyrockets, and those who hold on will supposedly reap massive rewards. He wraps up by predicting XRP could hit $100, maybe even $1,000. With the number of holders shrinking dramatically by then. According to Farina, the future is bright for the few who keep their XRP. That's right, folks. XRP to $1,000, because reasons. Institutions will pick up the slack, right? Except here's the thing. Reality doesn't line up with this story. The number of wallets is skyrocketing. XRP adoption is growing. Fact. Check XRP scan if you don't believe me. Metrics don't lie. And no, it's not institutions driving this growth. It's retail. So let's drop the fantasy and stick to the facts. XRP adoption is surging, and retail investors aren't going anywhere. If it were only institutions driving this, we'd see way fewer players involved. There just aren't as many institutions as there are retail investors like you and me. If things were heading the wrong way, with fewer individuals and more institutions dominating, these metrics would nosedive. But no, there's demand from institutions because retail investors are creating that demand. Without retail interest, institutional interest would vanish. It's that simple. Seriously, this isn't rocket science, folks. Jesus freaking Christ. I feel like Clark Griswold in Christmas Vacation, throwing my hands up and yelling, "Hallelujah! Holy crap! Where's the Tylenol?" Or whatever the line was. Great movie, by the way. Classic. But honestly, this stuff just steams my vegetables. So, what do you guys think? Honestly, the nonsense this guy puts out is staggering. I could make an entire series dissecting the garbage he spits out regularly, but for my own sanity, I've decided not to. Life's been blissful not seeing his face on my feed. It's like a breath of fresh air. Muting him has been amazing, but somehow, his nonsense still finds me. And Crypto Basic? Come on. Why are they giving a platform to someone who's clearly grifting in this space? Are they not aware? It's mind-boggling. Anyway, let me know what you think. To me, this is just another pile of nonsense. I'm grateful for the platform I have, because it lets me call out nonsense when I see it. This isn't just about opinions, that's one thing. But this is a full-blown grift. Bold-faced lies aimed at our community with zero shame and zero accountability. No corrections, no apologies. And when the heat gets too much, he locks down comments on X to silence anyone who calls him out. Classic move. Shut out the critics and avoid the truth. That's the game he's playing. Plain and simple. Anyway, I'll stop right there. Just remember, I'm not a financial advisor. Don't make any financial decisions based on what I say or write. Seriously, don't. That's a terrible idea. Until next time, stay sharp, Crypto Swiss.